Good evening, Camels, and welcome back. I'm Joshua Davis.
And I'm Abby DeBoer. This is Campbell Now. The Campbell Health Center has been approved by the state of North Carolina to administer the COVID vaccine. The center is coordinating with the Campbell University School of Medicine and the Harnett County Health Department to deliver the vaccine to people aged 65 and older. There is no word yet on when students will qualify for the vaccine. That will depend on state protocols. Campbell's number of COVID cases continues to stay steady. The latest numbers show 20 positive cases, 8 students on campus, 9 students off campus, and 3 faculty or staff positions. We are still well below our spike in mid-January and generally below state and national levels.
A doctor in Southeast Raleigh wanted to help communities that could not reach vaccination sites. Dr. Rashida Monroe decided to gather a group of doctors to find out ways they could potentially help those in minority communities with a focus on African Americans. The solution they came up with was to partner with community churches to administer the vaccination. There were 16 churches that joined the search to help the nearby communities. With all the hard work, 1,700 shots were delivered to churches and the Southeast Raleigh Community Center.
Reaching minority communities with medical care can be challenging after times of discrimination, such as the Tuskegee Study. According to the CDC, some 600 African American men were recruited in 1932 for a study about syphilis. The 6-month study stretched into 40 years. During that time, the men were denied treatment for the disease, even though it was available. The men were also not told they could opt out of the study. The Tuskegee Study ended in 1972 after the Associated Press exposed the story. President Bill Clinton apologized on behalf of the nation in 1997.
Joe Biden and his fellow Democratic members are working together to create a $1.9 trillion COVID-19 relief package. The plan will be to get pushed through in the coming weeks without the support of Republicans. The Senate approved the plan with Vice President Kamala Harris casting the tie-breaking vote for the first time. The House of Representatives passed the budget plan by a party-line vote of 219 to 209. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi predicts the final COVID-19 relief legislation could pass Congress before March 15th, when the special unemployment benefits are set to expire.
The Biden administration is set to rejoin the United Nations Human Rights Council. This decision reverses another move made by the Trump administration. The former president pulled the United States out of the council back in 2018. Secretary of State Antony Blinken added that the council, quote, is flawed and needs reform, but walking away won't fix it. The U.S. will rejoin the council as an observer for this immediate term. Other notable countries in the council include China, Cuba, Russia, and Venezuela.
This past Tuesday, SpaceX held a high-altitude test flight for their new prototype rocket SN9. The new rocket soared little over 6 miles to the sky before attempting to land back down. The attempt at trying to land resulted in a catastrophic explosion that sent chunks of steel thousands of feet into the nearby Texas coastal prairie. The SpaceX rocket stood around 16 stories tall and was hovering for roughly 30 seconds before it crashed back into the launch pad. SpaceX confirmed Tuesday night via its website that one of the ship's engines failed to reignite during the landing attempt. The Federal Aviation Administration will oversee the investigation into the failed landing.
The aftermath of the military-led coup in the country of Myanmar saw thousands of people rally together in protest this past Sunday. Protesters demanded the release of their elected president and other elected government officials. The Myanmar military further cut communications with very limited access to the internet. The United States Embassy has called for the military to give up their power and allow democracy to be restored. In addition, the U.S. Embassy called for the release of those detained and to lift all telecommunications restrictions. Protesters have been met with police and riot gear and trucks equipped with water cannons.
The Dino Safari is coming to the North Carolina State Fairgrounds. The tickets are a little under $50 per car, and they're going fast. Each person will be receiving a personal email from the ticket director from the Dino team. This event will consist of a drive-through of 40 full-size moving dinosaurs. Some of the featured dinosaurs will include T-Rex and Triceratops. This event aims at teaching people the history of dinosaurs. It starts February 18th.
Amazon founder Jeff Bezos is stepping down as Chief Executive Officer. Bezos will take on the role of Executive Chairman, a role that he hopes will allow him to focus on other business ventures. Bezos started his company in his garage nearly 30 years ago and has amassed a fortune close to $200 billion and will be replaced by Andy Jassy, the current leader for Amazon's cloud computing business. Amazon says the change will happen in the second half of 2021.
Tesla announced Monday morning that they brought $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin. In addition, Tesla will soon accept as a form of payment for their vehicles. Tesla has roughly more than $19 billion in cash and cash equivalents at the end of 2020. With this new investment, Bitcoin has reached new heights, with the price of Bitcoin totaling at least $44,000. Following the announcement, Tesla shares went up 2%. The investment makes Tesla the first major automaker to invest such a large percentage into cryptocurrency. We'll now take a short break and return with sports.
Welcome back, Camels. I'm Drew Ellis.
And I'm Madison Thompson. The Super Bowl saw Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defeat Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs to a score of 31-9. Drew, who stood out most to you?
Surprisingly, it was not a player that stood out most to me, but the entire Tampa Bay defense. They did a great job holding Mahomes under 300 yards. They sacked him twice and had him throw 2 interceptions last night. So he was running for his life for most of the evening. But the Chiefs really struggled this game, Madison, but who was most disappointing to you?
To me, the Chiefs' offensive line was extremely disappointing. They allowed 2 sacks, and their backup tackles could not stop the pass rush. Mahomes was pressured on 52% of his snaps. One of the biggest rivalries in college basketball history met this past Saturday. Duke lost 87-91 at home against UNC Chapel Hill. This game had a few differences compared to the matchups in the past. It was the first time since February of 1960 that neither team came into the game nationally ranked. These 2 elite powerhouse programs have not had the records they'd hoped to have had at this point in the season. Freshman Caleb Love scored a season high of 25 points to help Carolina win. Junior Leaky Black also hit 2 game-defying free throws with 7.2 seconds left to make it a 2-possession game for the Tar Heels. A lot happened in college basketball for Week 11. Who did you have as your team of the week?
Surprisingly, my team of the week was Illinois as they beat Wisconsin. They did a great job of holding them off on defense, and they did not lose the lead at all during the game. But what about you, Madison?
My team of the week would be Oklahoma State. They had a huge upset win over 6th-ranked Texas, and they went into double overtime.
That's great. Well, this week had a lot of special performances. However, which player impressed you the most?
To go back to the Oklahoma State game, I would have to go with Caleb Boone. He scored 22 points, had 15 rebounds, and 5 blocks, which were all career high stats for him, and he was a big presence for them on the inside.
Well, for me this week, I would say that my player of the week was Ayo Dusum, who scored 21 points, 12 rebounds, and 11 assists, and netted his first triple-double for Illinois this week.
With Week 11 all wrapped up, what matchup are you most excited for next week?
Next week, I would probably have to go with Michigan because they're going to come out and play one of the top-ranked teams in Illinois. Michigan is a tough team, and it's a Big Ten face-off game, so it'll be really interesting to watch this week. What about you, Madison?
I would say for my teams next week, I'm looking out for Baylor, who's ranked number 2, against Texas Tech, who's ranked 7th. Both teams are highly ranked and have beat other formidable teams recently. Kevin McCullough for Texas has been hitting threes consistently, and Baylor has a ton of depth.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you for joining us on Campbell Now. Check out our social media and Campbell CU TV. Be sure to leave us a like and share and leave a comment on what you think about today's topics. We hope to see you again next week, and then until then, I'm Drew Ellis.
And I'm Madison Thompson. This is Campbell Now.